I'm tired of this, you know, the mass media and the slave masters who control the system want us griping and, oh, he's a conspiracy theory, he's a conspiracy. What we face is a conspiracy, Alex Jones. No, there's no doubt whatsoever it is a conspiracy. And it started, this current problem started in 1776 with Adam Weishaupt, a Zionist, who created a document called Order of the Illuminati. And in that document, one of his philosophies was that through generations and through control of international finance, that they would eventually buy up the world. And with the World Bank, the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the International Bank of Settlements, this is exactly what they have done. They believe that they are rulers and that they are gods, and that the world's masses should cater to their whims. And if you look at a lot of the people in this society, you know, there's a certain amount of truth to that.
Well, I got to tell you something.
There's a lot of sheep-like people out there that.
I've got to tell you something right now, Jeff. A year ago, I already had an Access show, and I'd watch your show, and a lot of the stuff you'd say I knew was true, but I wasn't ready.
First off, you know, you got the Federal Reserve Bank, which you're going to be at a little seminar apparently this Saturday.
Yeah.
And if the Sunday, if the Federal Reserve is not discussed, then everyone there is wasting their time. Now, how this conspiracy, and that's what it is, Alex, works, and I'll just touch
peer pressure.
That by control of resources at the top, they have created all various foundations, front groups, religious organizations that control resources and information at the top. By doing that, they're controlling thought processes, which means they're creating the left wings, the right wings, all the different...
Order out of chaos.
And the thing that... order out of chaos. Of course, if you have an enemy, a clear-cut enemy, you're going to brainwash the public to believe that they are the enemy, when in fact they're the ones that are fighting for U.S. sovereignty. They're the ones that are fighting the globalists and their biodiversity treaties and their land grabs. And keep in mind, Alex, and I got a book here that was given to me by a former CIA operative, Terry Reid. Very detailed book. It's called Compromise. Is they themselves create the different, like we talked about, the order out of chaos. In other words, they bring the drugs in here, launder it through major banks, launder the money through major banks, and then turn around and have a drug war. It's the same thing with the environment. They have to come up with different schemes, Alex, to control people's property, control people's lives and property. And you mentioned the CIA, which was created by the Council on Foreign Relations in 1943. So it is a mechanism created by the CFR. The Council on Foreign Relations was a British spin-off of the old International Institute of Royal Affairs.
Yes.
It began in 1919. This is one of the latest charts of the Council on Foreign Relations, the trial.
I have this chart.
Okay, if we could put that up there. And keep in mind that this is just two of the various front groups that actually are... Some of the players in it are controlling America. And I've heard people say, well, they give fluff stories because that's what the people want. Or we've got all these laws because that's what the people want. Let's face it, Alex, anybody that sees what's happening knows that that's a fraud right off the top, because the people aren't requesting anything. They're being fed this information and they just react. The people are not demanding fluff stories. They're not demanding any type, they're just responding to what they're being fed. They're being manipulated around. The Federal Reserve Act, which passed December 23rd, 1913, created a private central bank. And since that time, 2 months later, Alex, then we moved towards the 16th Amendment. They ramrodded the income tax down us, and then we went into World War I. 1929, we had a stock market crash.
That's where we got to run up debt.
Right, we ran up debt, well, actually, they ran up debt with the New Deal. The Federal Reserve Act was passed December 23rd, 1930. Since that time, they've installed the income tax.
We've turned into a debtor nation.
We've had World War I, World War II.
We're like mules with piles of sticks on our backs.
Korean War, Vietnam War. What else has been introduced since that time? The New Deal, or the raw deals, what I call it. A system of enslavement based upon so-called going to help the American people with social programs after they fleeced them by taking $8 billion out of the economy. Now, if you look at the tragedy now, it's accumulated over $6 trillion of debt. And what they do, they've taken away our rights. They've created property taxes, income taxes, They regulate us to death with the huge bureaucracy that they finance. They control the masses through social programs. They control them through international drug trades. They're doing all of these different scenarios and mechanisms. And then what they do is they throw out a little bit of chicken feed to give us some material things. Materialism is part of this package too, you know. Take away their rights, take away their identity, and give the slaves a little bit of material things for working hard. But the fact is, if you look at this country and the deterioration of this country since December 23rd, 1913, and the passage of that central bank, and the debt that's accumulated, the wars that we've had, the abuses put on us by the IRS. If anybody wants to call this a theory, call it a theory. But my friends, I'm only interested in people who want to know the truth, who seek out the truth, who are ready to try to take this country back seriously and quit with phony little things like petitions and referendums and things of this nature that are not going to deal with the problem at hand. The fact that the world's rulers, Alex, aren't even interested in the little confetti money that they push around.
Oh, it is confetti money. It's fiat. It's
I got a question for you. Where is the gold that's supposed to be in Fort Knox?
Oh, it's gone.
See, the real slave masters.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Tell them the story. Tell them the story.
The real slave masters, and not the ones that peddle money and push money, but the ones that print the money.
It's all in Europe.
If they don't want this stuff that they give us,
oh,
they can print all this.
They can devalue it anytime they want. They can turn it into...
They got the gold, baby. In fact, our gold right now is buried in an underground vault in Switzerland. If you did not turn in all your gold in 1933, you were subject to a $10,000 fine or a 1 year imprisonment or both. Keep in mind your IRS check goes to the Federal Reserve Bank. If the American people really care about true liberty, not an illusion of liberty like they're being fed, they're going to have to take the time for themselves to investigate these things and find out for themselves whether we're just a bunch of conspiracy theorists or whatever. Henry Kissinger last year stated that we've got our globalist agenda on target.
On track.
Except for those pesky Americans.
That's what I'm saying.
So I believe that if we lose America to
Henry Kissinger is an agent of the British, by the way.
To the global grabbers, it's over. We've had the threat of fuel back in the 70s. We have the taxation. We have the development of public education and/or government training centers that have dumbed down the children of America. They've used the threat of war time and time again and sent our young 18-year-old kids to go fight in swamp lands 10,000 miles away. But the technique is as old as politics itself. It is a Hegelian principle of bringing about change in a three-step process, and that is thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The first step is to create a problem. Many examples of this would be, like I say, the drug war or Hussein or whatever. They create the problem, and then in the second step is that they generate opposition to the problem through fear, panic, and hysteria. They whip the public up into a fervor to get them to condition them a certain way, to react and think a certain way. And the third step is synthesis, is to offer the solution to the problem that they themselves created in step one. And they use this tactic of controlling and manipulating the masses around very effectively to condition them to accept more taxes, more regulations, more rules and licenses and permits and fees and all of these types of things, where they can create more bureaucracies and more governmental agencies, more law enforcement, all of these types of entities that they employ after they themselves have created the problem. This is a very fundamental technique that the rulers of this world use, and of course they blindly have used. Many of the members of the media and many people that work in these governmental agencies are just going along with this out of ignorance largely. So it's not something where there's many people involved with this. Basically what you have is a brain trust at the top, and then through the control of resources and information, they are controlling and manipulating their mechanisms such as government agencies, religious organizations, and front groups, things of this nature, to get people to act and believe certain thought patterns and thought processes.